Okay, we're recording. We're on. This isn't going to be super long, but I think it's going to be super helpful. I have some tips and things I wanted to share with you guys about ways to improve social media. Social media is literally our business. Like, that's how we reach new people. The majority of the time, obviously, there's face-to-face, but majority of our business is on social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Um, we're on whatever platform works best for us. So these are pretty much general tips and things that can help you no matter which platform you're using, like Facebook versus Instagram. They're pretty similar nowadays, especially since stories are both in Instagram and Facebook. So when since like social media, that's you. It's like the snapshot of you. You want to make it as genuine and authentic as possible. So when you're thinking about what you want to post and what you want to do with your account, think about your audience. Think about who you want to attract. What do they want to see? And when you're thinking about that, think about who you are. Think about what you're interested in and what you would want to see from somebody else. Like, if you're just scrolling social media, what are you looking for? You're looking for what you're interested in. You're not just Beachbody. So it's important to have, like, they always say 5 different things that you're basically you. So when you go to somebody else's profile, you can see, oh, here's a snapshot of Laura. This is who she is. This gives you a general idea. Because we're not just Beachbody. It's like Beachbody's your thumb. What are the 4 other things? So we could do a whole training on figuring out what those other interests are. But for now, it's just something for you to think about. Like, you're a dog mom. If you're a nurse, I'm a CPA. Are you a deca design type of person? Are you into fashion? Things like that. So there's just some ideas. Big thing that's changed from at least when I started coaching and figuring out how all the social media works. You don't just post to post. Back in the day, you used to post 3 times a day. That was like the rule of thumb, to post 3 times a day. Those days are long gone. Now you could get away with posting 1 time a day or even every other day. But the difference is that these posts, you need to make sure that you're adding value in every single post that you're posting. It's not like you're just taking a snapshot of your post-workout, like, okay, just got my workout done, day 95 of 100, woohoo. Where's the value in that? What did you get out of your workout? What did you, like, take it deeper. Don't just post to post. And really think about, like, again, what your audience is looking for and what kind of value do you want to provide to them. So when you're trying to figure out what you want to post, make sure you plan your posts. A lot of times, I know for me, an idea will pop into my head and I'm like, okay, I got to post about it now, otherwise it's not going to be good. And that's not always the best case, because maybe you thought about it like 11 p.m. Is your target audience on social media at 11 p.m. when you're going to post? Maybe it is, and that would be great. But if you take the time, write out your ideas, plan a post, you're going to find that you're going to be able to post at the right time, that all your audience is on, and you're going to get the most visibility. And you can maybe think about it a little bit more, brainstorm a little bit more about how you can take it deeper. So as these ideas come to you, write them down, jot them down. And then what I've started doing is I've started trying to plan my posts. So Sundays I'll sit down and say, okay, what do I have going on this week? What can I talk about? Am I going to be doing like anything different, like out of the norm, that I can try to factor into my posts? And then I'll schedule it, find out the best time, do my research on how my social media is best for me of posting timing wise. And then I'll plan it out that way. Also make sure you're, like I said, you're mixing them up. You're not just Beachbody. You're going to hear me say that a lot, because we're not just Beachbody coaches. And it's important to show that, because if somebody new comes to your page, they're going to they're going to look at it and be like, oh, well, all she does is work out. All she does is talk about coaching. All she does is like post a picture of her shake. Like, do I really want to follow her? They want to be able to relate to you on a different level. So make sure you're switching up your posts with the your different interests. And then another tip I have for you guys is to get creative with your photos. This doesn't mean you need to have like any special equipment, doesn't mean you need to have like the latest and greatest phone or digital camera or selfie light or ring light or anything. Use what you have. Like it doesn't have to be the same like setting. Like if you're in your office every single day, your photo doesn't have to be there. It doesn't have to be your post-workout selfie every day. You don't have to pose the same way every single day. Be creative, find ways, look online, Pinterest, ways to make your photos creative and eye-catching. I use a filter on my photos on Lightroom to help with the consistency. So when you go to like my page and you scroll, it's not so like all over the place. It's just like a visual thing. But just have fun with it. Like it's just fun. I lost what I was going to say. But yeah, so use what you have, and you can even, when you go out, like if you're going out one weekend, or if you get dressed up or whatever, if you go out to an event or something, take photos. Take a ton of photos while you're out and about, or those days that you're getting ready. And doesn't mean you necessarily have to use them that day, but you have them on the ready for whenever you want. Like if you have a post in mind and you're like, well, this picture could go really well with it if I had this, or you have this photo and you're like, well, what do I want to say with this? You have that. Rob says, sometimes watching other coaches that are similar to you can help spark ideas on the type of things you could post. Yep, 100%. And it's really great to look at other coaches and to see what they're doing to get ideas. And that doesn't mean copy. It's just to get ideas and put your own spin on it. It is very helpful because you can see what they're doing. Rob?
I'll jump in real quick. So I can honestly say that I've done this a few times. I watch Josh very closely. Woody Woodard is another coach on TNL. Mike Ulrich is another one. Him and his wife, Maggie. If you don't follow Maggie Ulrich, you should, because she's phenomenal at just being creative with her pictures. Preston is another one that I follow, and they'll post something, and I'm like, oh, shit, that was a good idea. Let me take that exact same concept and just put my own wording to it and take my own picture. Don't copy, don't steal their photos, don't steal their verbatim. They don't really, most coaches don't like that if you're stealing their posts and stuff like that. But you can take a similar thing, put your spin on it in a different verbiage, and that's all good.
Yep. And to add to that, like when you're looking for a coach that you trying to get ideas off of, make sure they're similar to you. Make sure they're like almost basically like they would be in your target market, because that's more genuine. That's going to come off more authentic when you use their idea and put your own spin on it. Using stories. I hope that everybody is using their stories and just like posting. I hope, like I should have said this. If you're not posting at all, start posting. You need to be posting at least, once a day or every other day, different content. It can't be just the same, oh, I checked in with my workout. But if you're not posting at all, other than like in your challenge groups or your accountability groups, you need to be posting on your public pages and make sure that your pages are public. I should have said that. So stories. If you're not using Instagram stories, you're missing out. You're missing out like on a huge opportunity to reach people, and you can see who's watching your stories and you can see the type of reach that you're getting. And it's great to be able to see who's consistently watching your stories. So just like any other post, you're not just Beachbody. So you want to be talking about things that are life. I mean, I talk about random stuff on my stories. Today I talked about Jell-O. Like, I hope that somebody laughed at my Jello. Like, you know, I have the things that I consistently do every day. Like I do I have my morning routine, and then I do my workout, and then that's it. I don't, unless I'm inviting to a boot camp, then I'll talk about it. But the rest of the day, I'm talking because people want to hear your voice. People can relate to you better when they hear your voice. And I know at first it can seem like a little iffy to talk on your stories, but people are not reading the things that we write in our stories. If they can't read it like that, they're going to skip over it. Like paragraphs, like, you know, think of, again, this goes back to, do you skip over the stories that talk? Okay, maybe then you don't want to talk. Maybe that's your audience, that they don't like to talk. Another cool thing with stories is that you can ask people, hey, you do a poll. Do you listen with the sound on or not? Because then you know right away, like, okay, well, maybe they don't listen, so there's really no point in talking. But it's definitely a better way to connect because they can feel you, that you're genuine and authentic, and you're excited and you're confident about it, about whatever you're talking about. So I highly encourage you to talk on your stories. Something that I hear a lot is, well, I work during the day. Obviously not, you know, all of us aren't full-time coaches. I don't know many of us that are full-time coaches, but that's okay. It doesn't mean you need to be posting 30 stories a day. Post in the morning before work. If you can post like on your lunch break, that's great. But even if you can't, like Rob can't have his phone at all during the day at work, that's okay. Do what you can. That's your life. We're not trying to tell you to be who you're not. So post when you can and just talk about your day. Talk about random stuff. Talk about, you know, whatever you want. But make sure, just like you're posting, you're sprinkling in a little bit of everything. Like, what's going on? Like Dak is wedding planning. You know, that's a huge part. People want to hear about that. Our following wants to hear about that. And it's, you know, you might not think like you have a lot of, you know, that you have a boring life, but people can relate to that. Like, you know, I personally see people that like look like they have the perfect photos, have the perfect routine, everything's perfect. I'm like, oh, I can't relate to that. I'm a hot mess 95% of the time, and that's okay because the people that are going to follow me are in the same boat as I am. So that's super important. Be yourself. Don't try to be somebody else. Then the last tip I have for you guys with any kind of social media is not to use Beachbody jargon, because it can be confusing to people. Because most of the general world doesn't know what Beachbody is. And I know, like, we talk to a lot of people and they're like, well, I have a coach, I'm already doing this, I've heard of this, I've heard of that. Not everybody knows what 21 Day Fix is. Maybe they might have heard about it, maybe they don't know what those little containers are. So break it down when you're posting about maybe your workout. Break it down into simple terms. And remember, if it's confusing to you, like at any point, it's definitely confusing to them. Think about where you started, and clueless as we all were when we all started, think about that person. You're talking to that person and you want them to understand and not be frustrated, so you can help them. They want, you know, ultimately they want your help, so make it easy. Don't make it harder for yourself to talk to them and relate to them and help them. So those are the tips I have for you guys. And each of these, like, you can go into depth like so much, but those are like generally very, very good to incorporate into your social media like immediately. And if you haven't been doing this stuff, start now. It's as simple as that. Whatever you were doing yesterday, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter. Tomorrow's a new day, today's a new day, tomorrow's a new post. Like, just do it. You just have to do it. Anybody have any questions?
I don't know if you hit on this. I've been in and out of the room. Whatever you're doing on social media, the key is consistency. Like, you got to do it all the time. Like, if you're doing your 5 stories a day, your Instagram post, do it daily. If you're doing a Facebook post, do it daily. If you do a post, and we have coaches on the team that do this too. They'll post one time, and then a month and a half later, they'll post again and be like, "Oh, well, my business isn't working." You're not consistent. It would be like if I start a restaurant, and I always use this analogy, and I throw an advertisement in like the paper one day and never again for like 2 months. No one's going to know my restaurant exists, really. So you have to keep on putting stuff out there. And again, like Laura, one of the things that Laura said that absolutely 100% you have to do is you're not just Beachbody. Hell, you're not Beachbody. We use Beachbody as a method to help people, but we're not Beachbody. If Beachbody goes away tomorrow, are you going to survive? Yeah, because you are who you are, right? So be consistent, post about things that are relatable to you. I think we have a training exercise where you can figure out what to post about. If I recall, I wrote it. I mean, what do I know?
That's why I said you could have one training about that, and maybe that's something that we should do, and have it as like an exercise that we all do it together. Because it can seem overwhelming at first, because you look at yourself and you're like, well, I don't do anything. I'm boring. Like, what am I? Who am I? It's a hard reflection if you don't automatically know it. So we can do the whole thing on that.
Another thing you want to do is you want to remember to post about not where you are, not always where you are now, but reach back to where you were at one point. We all started somewhere. I'm always going to talk to the Fat Rob, and people like Fat Rob, where they're 260 pounds trying to get started because they, whatever they were feeling at that particular point in time. I'm not in that same space now that I was back then, but I want to help people that were then, that were where I was, so a lot of things. You probably hit on that too. I've been in and out.
No, you're good. Raina, Dak, anything to add? Any questions?
Not really. I know that I haven't been consistent lately, so I'm guilty as charged. Like, I'm not complaining that my business isn't going anywhere, because I know exactly why it's not going anywhere. I just need to make a change.
And do the things. I get you.
Yeah.
And I feel like with social media, it's hard to find what works for you. It's super easy to figure out what doesn't work because you could have this great post, and if you're off like in timing by the slightest bit, you're going to miss everybody. Everybody's going to miss your post. And I've had that happen, and it's like the worst feeling. And it's like, okay, well, we learn and we move on, and then probably use that post again because it's great and no one saw it.
Yeah. I don't know if anybody watched the video in TNL the other day that Josh made. It was like a 90-minute video where he asked a couple people, he asked the whole group what you're struggling with the most, right? And then he made a video responding to every single comment in that thread. And of course, my comment was in there, and he answered something I was really kind of not wondering, but I just threw it out there. One of the things that he hit on was evolution, right? You have to evolve, and you have to always be understanding that what worked 6 months ago probably isn't going to work now. So, and Dak, you brought, thinking you brought this up, you were, if your business was booming 6 months ago and you stopped, don't just automatically expect it to be the same way. If you go back to doing exactly what your page has evolved, Facebook has evolved, you've evolved. So you have to kind of be willing to, and understanding enough to know who you are now and how you've changed and how everything's changed and how your audience has changed, and understand how to keep on just growing with it. Your audience and social media is a live organism, essentially. It's always adapting and changing in some way, shape, or form. You have to be willing to do that as well.
Yeah, and that's like super important, because when you're trying to attract new people, you need to make sure that you're with it. So you're finding those right types of people, and you're giving them the content that they want. And that's why I said, like, post, remember we used to post 3 times a day. If you did that, I don't even know what would happen. you just don't do it. People would probably get annoyed by your stuff and be like, I'm out. You're annoying. Enough is enough.
I struggle to post 1 time a day, let alone 3. So I'm glad I wasn't around during that time frame.
That was a big like post to post time. I remember there's like a scenario in my mind like that I will never forget. I was doing hammer and chisel and I was like, well, today's day 30, I have to post it. And I just posted to post it and it was the worst. It was the worst. And it was like, that will forever stick with me. I was like, no, you don't do that. And I leave it up, like it comes up on my time hop and I leave it there as a reminder. You don't do that. Like, this is why you don't do that. It's like all the things what not to do. Nailed it. All right, well, that's all I've got. If nobody has any questions or comments, any more of them. I appreciate you guys jumping on. This is fun. I hope it was helpful. I know a lot of these tips are stuff that it's easy to do. It's also easy not to do. So I'm guilty of it too. And I'm doing a social media kind of audit and looking at the past 12, 15 of my Instagram posts, going back through my Facebook to see what's what, to make sure I'm hitting all my different interests, because it's super easy. Like when you have something going on, it's super easy to focus on that and that alone. And it's like, well, things will change. So how are you going to adapt to it? And, do I start now? So you can do that too. And it can be super eye-opening. Okay. Well, that's all I got.
Awesome. Thank you, Laura.
Have a good night, guys.